Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of The Man From Osirion, Mummy's Mask. It's been a year since we produced any episodes of this show. We finished I won't say we're completely finished with our sci-fi arc, but we are still continuing to run Mummy's Mask, Pathfinder 1st Edition, the Half-Dead City. Little change in the story. When last we left our heroes, we had a fight in virtual space that happened not only in Vex Vandel's consciousness, but actually in a room. And we're going to discuss now the fallout of those events. So, weary, shaken, confused, and somewhat defeated at the death of their android friend paladin, R3N. The party succumbs to the news that our suspected witch benefactor patron of our inn and tavern and the followers that were scattered standing vigil come and discover the next morning that R3N has died. We claim innocence. We talk about a strange black ooze, and what's left of it on the floor was the assassin, and that we are not to blame. Frank, having pull of the most powerful church, can quell their pitchforks and torches as Old Man Arif and a Cloistered Cleric by ordering an investigation, a fair trial as it were. And you guys are incarcerated for several days as this sort of blows over. You hear on your doing time stint of 72 hours or so, Vex, that the body of R3N has been turned over, for not having any other relatives, has been turned over reluctantly by Old Man Arif to the followers of Wadjet, the oracles and the follower. Yeah. And they...
Will they let me out of holding long enough to attend his funeral?
Not while you're still in investigation. They kind of did that in the first day or two. They examined the body quite a bit, and they interned him to the river in which he came. Gave him up, wrapped him up. And be it his, shall we say, unusual android composition, or perhaps he was truly blessed as a paladin from Wadjet. But I will tell you this, the body comes to rest not far from the pod which he left, and remains undisturbed by the minions of Sobek, the crocodiles, the scorpions of Selket, and most other aquatic life, as he disappears down into the dark, murky depths and reeds beyond view and beyond this world. The followers of Wadjet mourn their chosen and wonder if he had not yet fulfilled whatever purpose. The investigation is not only a murder investigation, but the Wadjet followers want to know everything Vex, Arif, and a missing Fafaal. That's a little bit suspect. Fafaal does not return. Still, after several days, you are finally released, Vex. Old Man Arif has been re-interned into a rotation in the church and cannot join you.
He's been re-cloistered?
For now. He's been re-cloistered by the church and cannot join, and you find yourself without party members. One dead, one missing, one too busy to join. What will become of the Night Whispers? But that's not the biggest thing on your mind right now, because since you've been incarcerated for 3 days, you've been going through some changes. And you've gained a level. Do you want to talk about it?
Okay. So for my level, I have decided to become a multi-class character, and I took a level of Summoner with the archetype Synergist.
Okay.
Which means, and this is like how the abilities of my newfound symbiote, or I guess newly evolved. I don't even know. It was such a weird. It was just.
Well, the way the character class works is a summoner comes into his powers. He's a spontaneous caster that runs off charisma, as far as I know, and he magically forms from the void what's called an eidolon. And this thing has to take a shape. You actually get to build the player gets to build this thing from scratch: a serpentine form, a humanoid form, a quadruped,
So cool.
an aviation form, right? And then on top of that, there are some archetypes where instead of having like a servant or the ultimate familiar or something, there's one called what's yours called?
It's called a synergist.
The synergist.
Or sorry, synthesist.
Synthesist.
Yes.
So if for flavor we say your experience from the nanites has brought out this new ability in you that's manifested, and somehow your mind or the raw materials left of the nanites in your system, you have become a synergist. And what does that mean? What do you summon?
Synthesis.
What do you summon?
So like, instead of summoning another completely separate creature, you fuse with your eidolon, and it like covers you like an armor, and it changes your stats. And
I knew I shouldn't have attacked you and covered you head to toe in black goo. You just turned yourself into Venom, didn't you?
Working on it. One step at a time. I mean,
okay. Instead of Spider-Man, he's like, okay.
But unlike Venom, I'm still gonna stab people in the back.
Oh.
Venom would never do that.
Oh, okay.
The sense of justice would never allow.
No, you're your own character. Let's say you're taking some inspiration from that character, because you are far from it. You are Suli, which is sort of mostly human, but also sort of like one of the genie kin with some electricity in you.
I do look completely human. I don't look like anything but a Grundy street rat.
Okay. I thought you're not Grundy, you're Katapesh.
Or yeah.
Katapesh. So instead of Egyptian, you're kind of like Arabic. Like Aladdin, like literally like Aladdin.
I was born in Wati. So what does that make me? It's Grundy, isn't it?
Yes, but the Suli come from Katapesh, so at least one of your parents were from Katapesh. So maybe you're half guy, half breed. Sure, that works.
Racist.
No, you know what I mean. Like you have mixed parents, but okay. And now you have mixed character classes: one level of rogue and one level of summoner.
Yep.
Okay. Now, are you, like, these 3 days you incubate, you become aware of this type of thing, right? We talked about the crystal being jabbed in your neck. Okay.
Right.
It is removed, and the followers don't know what it is. Right.
Did it mess me up at all when it was removed?
No.
Or they were like, boop, heal.
Yeah, like you have a scar that looks like a crazy vaccine shot, like it's like a round, because this was like a jagged, like a thick dagger, right? It's a crystal shard that's like not flattened like a dagger, got jammed into your neck, like a stalactite stuck in your neck. So you have this big hole that they healed up and a big scar there, right?
Cool.
No, the transference, everything, the virtual space, that's all done in the past. However, only you and R3N have an idea of what it actually is. Okay, and your original party members. So it's a valuable crystal, and Arif offers to take it for study, if you wish, or it was literally used to do something to you, because Arif's not totally clear on why the android wanted to bleed out on you.
Of course, I would totally let Arif take it, but he's the only one I would let take it.
Oh yeah, no. And this is before we get overwhelmed with the faithful or whatever. Like, he's a sly old guy. So he pockets the crystal and goes to study it and, be returned to you. And it's one of the reasons why he goes back to the church. It's like, let me look into this, Anyway, we had to give up the body to keep them happy. And when you come back on the street, you're probably not going to just walk up on the Wadgets and go, hey, buddy. Like, they're probably not going to be very happy with you, I wouldn't say they're indifferent. I wouldn't say they're hostile, but they're definitely, unfriendly on the chart of diplomacy. You can guarantee that's going to happen. Also, 3 days in prison or being asked a billion questions or whatever while it's going on in your brain. Do you manifest this armor. So like you become aware of your powers and stuff, and spells and things. You remember watching wizards and casting and find you have your own natural ability. Like you become a summoner, and rather rapidly. Like technically, if somebody wanted to be a first level fighter and then become a first level wizard, they'd have to go study. They'd spend their first level fighter getting the XP and studying wizardry and learning under a wizard, right? This kind of happened to you organically. It's a charismatic class or like a sorcerer. So it's almost like a power is like welled up from inside you or been amplified from an outside stimulus and is now you. So these powers come online. Now,
well,
you thought
obviously one of the first things I'm going to master is keeping my hand intact.
Okay. One thing you thought of was Pharasma. You believed you lost your hand and she regrew you a hand, and now you have a stump. And if this thing manifests like armor, it would almost be like you're manifesting like a gauntlet or a glove, right?
Yep.
Right? So you can cover your stump with, like a...
Well, it would actually be the claw of my bipedal eidolon form.
Right.
So it's not armor. It would just come out like a black ooze and form into the shape of a...
Like a hand with like
claw.
Talons or something. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Kind of creepy in itself, but okay. And that's where it starts. Day one, you playing around, the claw comes out. Oh, sweet, Day two, it spreads, and there's a fight breaks out in the cell next to you, and they're throwing stuff, and you get hit, and then all of a sudden a patch appears like a plate, like the armor, that kind of thing. Like it's all stimulus. You start testing it. We have a montage of you dicking around for 3 days in the cell, trying to do things, and
flat out running into the wall.
Yeah, yeah, seeing what your limits are, right?
Yep.
And then you feel energy, which takes form in thought and form like a spell where you can actually...
I think one of the first things I would do is express my summon creature ability, because that's something that I actually have 6 times per day.
Okay.
Summon creature 1. I can't do it while I'm in my eidolon form, but when I am...
The first time it happens is they're giving you like bullshit for food, bread and water, and you get so hungry, you start thinking about the exotic things at the market, crawfish, shellfish, something, and poof, it's probably something out of the monster manual and technically edible, but possibly in the same wheelhouse or a cousin of something that would actually be hunted or fished. You know what I mean?
Yep, there is a list out of the monster manual for sure.
Yeah. So, and you just make it appear in front of you. This, poof, wow, instant rat burger, or poof, instant, creature, right?
Yep.
So the prisoners dine well tonight on, make some fire, that kind of thing. And so on and so forth. I don't reveal every power you have, but by the time they release you and you get back on your feet, return your belongings or whatever, you go visit Arif at the mausoleum at the church, where he has General Akintempe's ancient magical padded armor for you. And the shield that R3N took, not his shield.
No, but the
right. What's left?
Scarab shield or whatever.
What's left of his shield was given to the Wadgets. But the Scarab shield you guys found, you have, unless Fafaal ran off with that.
I'm actually going to wear the armor. I was doing some reading.
Okay.
It's going to become mine.
Well, Old Man Arif tells you what it does. Like they tested it stuff. He's like, I hung on to this. You want to wear this? It's that kind of thing. So, can a summoner wear armor and use abilities?
I can wear armor.
Yeah.
But when I summon my fused form,
yeah.
I don't have the benefits of it. So while I'm fused, I don't. But I'm not going to be fused all the time.
What about a chance of cast failure, arcane failure?
Spontaneous casters. I don't think.
Yeah, like only.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, some there are some exceptions. Like the bard can wear light armor without any casting fail, but it'll be in your class. Padded is only 5%, but every time you cast a spell,
I gotta roll a 6 percentile to see if I
6% or higher, you're good. 0 to 5, fizzle, and you lose the spell because the armor interferes. I know, almost negligible, but
trust me, it'll happen.
Yeah.
If there's anything that playing tabletop RPGs has taught me, is that a 2% chance happens a lot more often than you might think.
Okay. Yeah. And away we go. So, and weapons. I don't remember if there was any. No, Arif has a bunch of stuff held. Like the books and the stuff. We converted some money or whatever, but trusting that he's hanging.
Yeah, no, I just have my rapier, my short bow, a couple potions though. I want them.
Summoners can wear light armor without incurring normal arcane spell failure.
There you go. Yeah, so you'd be right in the. There you go. So you're good.
I don't know if it's light armor or not.
It's padded,
but...
so yeah, it is.
It's padded.
Yeah, you're good. Yeah, padded is actually one step worse than leather. It's only gives you like a +1 to your AC, plus whatever magical benefits it has. Right? It's like a padded quilt thing. It is probably next to cloth, which is virtually practically nothing. But
it's +1, so it's the same as my leather, actually.
Yeah. Well, leather traditionally gives you +2, studded +3, right? So.
And I've got padded, so.
Oh, you mean it's a magical +1? Okay. Yeah, I'm following you. Okay. So with new armor, a new Dr. Claw outlook, new powers, you are now the leader of the Night Whispers, but it doesn't feel the same without Arif. So what to do? He's going to be busy for days, he says. He suggests you lie low, but I doubt that's going to happen.
I would take a few days to accustom myself with all my newfound abilities, but I would want to get back into the swing of things.
Okay. Well,
Vex is an ambitious young man.
All right. Well, Arif, hesitantly, if you're going to be insistent, he wants you to put you with someone capable. Okay. So remember how he was online registering and stuff? Right?
Yep.
There's been people coming back to the temple for healing and stories or whatever. There's this one party known as Divine Chaos that had 4 members, and they lost one to a terrible trap. And they wanted to know some things about excavation, and an argument ensued between an oracle, a war priest, and an inquisitor, all of different faiths, about is it worth and would there be anything left of a body that was consumed by certain creatures. Well, on and on. He found it very interesting. Anyway, he does know that these guys are smart enough to survive what sounded like a real disaster compared to what we went through. They care about their 4th member enough that they're not just going to write him off as soon as he's dead, because they're arguing over what's the right thing to do about him post-mortem. So they seem to have some kind of, moral compass. And they're short a guy. So he directs you to the Tooth and Hookah. And he tells you to ask for Divine Chaos. If you really insist, maybe they'll take you. What do you want to do?
I'll take him up on his advice.
Or you can go it alone. I mean, Venom is alone, right? No? Okay, fine. All right. The very next day, a little bit of rest, that kind of thing. Or I should say that evening, because they're probably going to go back in, Anyway, these guys are also in a holding pattern. They're deciding what to do, whether they go back in or do something about, mourn their lost companion type of thing, right? He also tells you that it's been a couple days. It's not such a, he didn't just die yesterday. They came out a couple days ago, and they haven't gone back in. They're deciding what to do. They're undecided. Okay. So, again, these guys seem to have a bit of a soul, right? So, anyway, not upstanding paladins of Pharasma. They are of alternate face, He gives you some base descriptions, which I will just say you recognize them when they come in, and I'll allow the new players to describe what they do head to toe. And you head up to the Tooth and Hookah, where we find a whole bunch of sitting carpets and mats with pillows and low knee-high tables that are round with a big hookah smoking pipe in the middle, a legendary well that contains drinking water with a little crocodile in it that doesn't seem to grow any bigger than the well, called Toothy. And the Tooth and Hookah, as you know, is described as, well, it has this cool sign with an upright crocodile wearing the headdress of a pharaoh with a hookah pipe. Our proprietor seems to be a decent fellow and is up to his eyeballs in customers, because now that we're several days in, like, the place, there was that excitement holding powder. Now there's constant people, alliances, betrayal, merchants. Like, it's just, the city is just swelled. Like, now that everyone held their breath and it's a success and people are actually coming out with ancient treasures, even more merchants and adventurers and stuff are trying to get into the lottery, replace losses and stuff. And there's guards, like the Pharasmic Guard has up patrols when they're not necessarily also trying to wander the actual half-dead city. The Pharasmites, the actual city guard and stuff, there's a lot of, patrols trying to keep the peace. Fights break out. There's all kinds of thievery. You know what I mean? People just grabbing some poor Gurundi guy on his way home with his straw batch, saying, "You're the guy that stole from us last night."
So the town is bustling, is what you're saying.
Oh, yes. Into the Tooth and Hookah, it is bustling as well. However, a Varisian human male, a unusual looking dwarf that Arif believes is not from the Five King Mountains, but actually from the Geb-Neb region, and prattled on about a bunch of stuff that didn't make sense to you about that character, and a local Gurundi woman. He did not tell you which was which, but he said they were...
Do I know her?
You could try.
Do I know her? What would that be?
Local or religion?
Skills, knowledge, local. Okay, so a raw intelligence check that is. 8.
Yeah.
Nope.
Well, to make you feel better, the character background I happen to know she is a wandering, Anyway, he doesn't tell you what they actually do. He just says that each 3 are of different faiths, and none of them are Pharasmites. This is probably why they're, bickering. However, they must all be wise enough to put their faiths and beliefs aside to work together. And you find 3 companions, sure enough, solemnly smoking pipe, eating flatbreads and oils, and not partying like from their, woo, gold rush, in one corner. But you also see other adventurers like taking their lumps. There's people that are drinking themselves from loss, from wounds. It's a real mix of party, like euphoric, and totally bummed out, broke up with my boyfriend, or worse kind of thing going on. Anyway, a steadfast, solemn party sits in a corner. You approach.
Yep.
Let's start with our missing Fafaal. We will get back to him and what happens to him jumping in the river, but we have Aiden Willems back from Mummy's Mask with a brand new character, one of the lead divines of chaos. Aiden, would you please name and give us a little bit on your character, please?
Oh, of course. So, I am playing Kanas, Oracle of Bones. And so as you see him sitting there, first thing you notice is the very pale skin. So he is not from around here. He's probably from up north. And the second thing is he is covered in bright tattoos of all various shapes, sizes, various languages. And to top it all off, he has a big, bright lavender hair just sticking straight up.
And how's he dressed?
He's actually wearing the native hot weather outfit.
Okay. Any armor peeking out? Anything obvious, like a big bow on the back, or like any obvious gear or weapons? Obviously, you guys are all like dripping with weapons, or it's all sitting beside the table with your backpack, or secure in your room. But I'm sure you guys are at least armed, if not armored, because there is still a lot of banditry and, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Underneath, you can absolutely see, bits of chain link for a chain shirt, and then leaning up against the table is a long spear. Okay. And as he's talking with the people, he's actually working on a tattoo on himself.
He's got like the bare kneecap, and he's just tatting away. Are you doing like the Hawaiian thing where like they have the long wooden with it looks like a smoking pipe, and they hit it, they tap 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 tap, and the needle goes in? Like, are we going old school with this kind of thing? Like,
absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, dude's like maiming himself. It looks very painful. Chatting away like it's nothing. How about how old is your character? Does he appear?
He appears actually fairly young.
So in his 20s?
Probably, yeah, early,
Okay.
late teens, early 20s.
Okay.
But he's kind of got an aged look in the eyes.
All right. Next, we have a dwarf in, well, heavy-looking armor, and he's leaning up against the biggest shield you've ever seen in your life.
It's like the door shield from Dark Souls.
There you go. Welcome, Matt Spiegler from Monster Interrupted, in the middle of his cameo of Age of Ashes, and now we've asked him to join the Mummy's Mask cast for a stint as... Now, we said Aiden was an oracle. What are you playing, sir?
I am a war priest, and I am a Culinet dwarf.
Ooh.
And so yeah, like I got kind of a tan going on, and I'm wearing a pair of goggles, dark hair, and as you heard, I have this big shield.
Now, for those that don't know, this is not your Scottish Five King Mountain dwarf. If you go east, like past their Persia, as it were, on Galorian,
You run into the Culinet dwarves, and they're kind folk.
you have Geb and Neb, the famous, or Nex, the famous lich and sorcerer that fought the epic battles way back in the day. They're long dead, and they had their minions that are still up and running and laid waste to entire part of a continent. And in the southern part of that continent, we have these dwarves, I believe. And I also believe this is where you could find a bunch of people, they're marshals, like have legit firearms, guys with rifles and stuff. Do you actually have any firearms on you, sir, at this time?
Sadly, I do not.
Sadly, you do not. Would you describe your overall appearance, armor, and demeanor at this table, sir?
I am in a sullen mood, looking into my glass, my grog, and I'm still wearing my full plate armor that's got some wicked mountain runes on it, and there's definitely some like battle scars and stuff from the the adventure we just
Do you
came
have the
from.
like? There are dwarves here in the city. They're merchants and they deal in the funeral goods. And then there's those legendary desert dwarves, the Femmet dwarves that are Sphinx whisperers that might be known to Vex. Whenever I hear a southern accent, I'm just curious. Like, does he have like the full-on bushy beard, or you got something more like the goatee and mustachio handlebar?
Yeah,
Something
it's
like-
more the mustache,
the
like
giant-
the classic big poofy with the twirl up at the
southern
end.
gentleman mustache, that's the goatee and everything.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. And last but not least, also cameoing in Age of Ashes, returning to Monster Interrupted soon, and soon to be stepping a cameo in one of our other podcasts, one of our bigger can't talk about that till you're actually in there. Sorry, Sam. Samantha Curl, author of the Amazon book Evening Star, is returning at request of fans and friends and family, and is playing a Grundi native, or the fantasy Egyptian girl. Would you describe yourself, please?
So my character's name is Talia. She's got definitely from around this area, darker brown hair, kind of tied up on the top of her head, braided a little bit to keep it out of the way, wearing some chain armor, but also some clothing to help keep her cool in the heat, and a whip, a scorpion whip on her one hip as she sits at the table.
Cool. Now, Old Man Arif denoted you all as religious people, like devout followers of a faith with powers, like not just like, oh, we're the flock, right? Do any of you literally have your faiths worn on a sleeve? Like, are the tattoos, if you look closely on our oracle, something to do with whom you follow? Now, oracles are actually kind of generic. I know you can actually call upon all the gods. Our dwarf, our Grundy local. Is there anything that stands out? For instance, the Pharasmites that join the guard actually have the big Pharasmic swirl in blue painted on their wooden shields to denote them as like the cleric backup with the military unit, that kind of thing? Is there anything in your armor, gear, or do you literally have the, big holy symbol flopping out the front of your coat that would denote your faith? Anyone? Or no?
Mine's kind of like tied to my belt and hanging off my waist.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
I have got my holy symbol tattooed onto the back of my hand.
Okay.
So mine's slightly more complex.
You don't need holy symbol. You actually are an oracle. You're
and
good.
that's fair.
Okay.
No, so he actually has multiple Thessalonian runes tattooed on him. And they stand for the names of the animals that are kind of the pantheon that he at least gains his powers from, or he believes so.
Oh, okay.
So for example, Eygpt is one of them. Hers is a fly. So he has the Thessalonian rune for fly tattooed in red.
Oh, right on.
Somewhere on his body.
Okay. So yeah, like an association symbolic.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely a boost for your confidence, right?
But it also allows him to, show those without everybody knowing, oh, hey, he's a follower of Eygpt or Set or, this, that, and the other thing.
If you have
because no one knows Thessalonian anymore.
True. But if someone deciphered it, it's not like you have like one tattoo. You have a montage. You have the whole
plus
rainbow
there's
going on
other
there.
things as well.
Yeah, cool. Right on. No, that's cool. All right. Knowledge religion. Young Vex.
Okay. Raw intelligence it is. 8.
Okay. All right. You're pretty sure Arif said the dwarf actually was not a Pharasmite, but one of the other 2 big religions here in the city. Just can't remember if it was Adabar, Commerce, or Nethys, Magic. And the woman was one of the ancient gods. Maybe it sounded something like the war priest that you were traveling with, Joe's guy, Wellaf. Start with an S. But so many ancient Osirion. I mean, there's like half a dozen of them that start with an S. And
truth be told, Vex doesn't care about religion much.
So it just becomes a jumble. Anyway, you're checking these guys out. You look them over, and then they notice finally that you're getting closer and eyeballing them. So, would you describe the new you, Akatempi armor and all, to these 3 people as you're, leering over their table all of a sudden?
What you see is a little above average height, like 5'10", 5'11", native, but with a bit of an exotic twist. Wearing relatively ornate padded armor in the traditional Osirian design. It's like a quilted cuirass of linen kilt, a teardrop shaped groin guard of stiffened linen, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Old school.
Yep. He's got a rapier at his hip. He looks very comfortable. And you notice his one hand is from the wrist down is black and in the shape of a claw. Like it doesn't look human.
So you look like an alien, kind of like 3-fingered claw, or like a hook, like
No,
pirate.
it's
Which
the
wrist?
full hand claw, like a humanoid hand.
Oh, okay.
But it's like clawed. I don't know how to describe.
Yeah, like the supernatural horror. The fingers are a little bit longer, and it's all one color, and the nails are. Yeah, okay, I got you. Like that's what you're going with. Like it's subtle, but it's there.
Which hand? Left or right?
I believe it was his left hand.
Yes.
But thanks for putting me on the spot. It's been a year.
There you go.
Was not my intention, sorry.
No, it's all good. It's all good. So he just kind of approaches. He says, "Excuse me, my friends. I was pointed in your general direction from a very good priest friend of mine named Master Arif. And he said that you may perhaps be looking to add to your adventuring party for your next delve into the tombs.
Is the wound from that great, heroic, stoic guy that gave his life for you, gentleman by the name of Beardsley. Is it too fresh? Are you guys even entertaining the fact of adding to your party?
It works for me. Welcome aboard.
Well, don't be so hasty, my friends. First, let me tell you my specialty. I am a trap finder and disarmer. And I have a few other skills.
Even
does
better.
Does a little flourish with the clawed hand.
Can I have an intelligence check from the three of you, please? And knowledge local as well, I guess. Kanas, what'd you get?
13.
Okay. And Talia?
10.
And Grayson?
20 for intelligence.
Okay. And then our local Grayson got
11.
and Talia
6.
and
Kanas doesn't know about the local area.
okay. So,
I was gonna say I'm untrained as well. So
all
maybe.
right, okay. Talia, I'm gonna treat your low rolls because you actually are local. That this guy, he seems on the level, or he's a really good liar. You know what I mean? Our dwarf, I'm gonna say that you're smart enough to realize that you lost a guy to a trap because we didn't have a trap finder. So the fact that he brings this on his resume means he vetted you. This guy, you know, like, is claiming to fill something that you really need. And people that are trying to sell you something or con you do that.
What'd you say your name was again, sir?
Oh, forgive me. My name is Vex. Vex Vandel. He does a low, polite bow.
Well, nice to meet you, Vex, but I might be more inclined to speak with you if you brought us another round.
Oh, forgive me for my lack of hospitality. I shall return post hastily.
So he leaves. Can I have sense motive all around? Will you guys possibly discuss in character, you know, yays and nays?
It works for me.
3. Don't forget to call it the number before you RP it.
Fair.
14.
7.
Okay, so
I kind of like the cut of this guy's jib.
yeah, like your gut tells you he's cool, but like I said, the presentation did seem a little bit sus. So he goes off to get drinks, and you know, amongst yourselves.
Well, we could use a trap finder.
Yeah,
Indeed.
worst comes to worst, he'll set him off.
Like
I
Beardly.
I like your style.
So you're unanimous? No? Go ahead.
I was just going to say I'd feel better going in with another party member than just the 3 of us.
No, I completely agree.
You
Plus having access to, you know,
I mean,
Which makes
no
it
one's
easy.
gonna fill the void that Beardsley left, but I think Vex will do.
he was very effective at his job. Very much so.
saved your lives.
What do you say
Oh,
when he
that's-
gets back here? We all make a toast to good old Beardsley.
Oh, I like that. That's fitting. The new guy buys drinks, and with those new drinks, you toast the guy he's replacing. That's cool. I like that. That's good. Too bad we don't give out hero points like water in this game. But you get 1 per level, and they're incredibly powerful in this one. It's not like 2nd edition. Matt, don't get too excited. So a short while later,
It's cool.
yeah, Vex returns with drinks. So Vex, what do you buy these guys? Do you like try to figure out what their taste would be? Do you eyeball what they're already drinking, or you just
That's exactly. I take a second,
Yeah.
have a gander at the old table, and see if I can figure out what they're drinking. And
yeah, not too hard considering on the glass, or you know what you probably guess, or you know you can always ask, oh, what are they drinking, right? Okay, so he returns.
actually, you want to know what? That's probably exactly what I would do. I just go up to the bar. Another round for my friends.
Yeah.
And your cheapest swill for me.
He points at the crocodile occupied well as far as cheapest swill. So
I'll make my hand disappear
yeah.
and hold it up. No, my friend, I tried that once.
He shoots you a look, but I think he's smart enough to know that you're joking. So the young man returns with a second round of what you were already drinking. How considerate. And the scene fades out as Vex sits down, makes himself comfortable, and gets acquainted with his new party. And as the Night Whispers adventures are put on hold, possibly over, he ingratiates himself to divine chaos. Because tomorrow, you guys...
That doesn't sound ominous at all.
You picked it. You guys picked it. It was actually a combination of... what was it? The Divines and Soft Chaos, and you guys came together with Divine Chaos or something like that?
Divine Wrath.
Divine Wrath and Soft Chaos came together, so... but those names are still for grabs, you know. All you gotta do is kill off and shuffle a couple more cast members, and so, you know, we'll hold on to those. You never know. Hey, there's an entire city full of Indiana Jones wannabes, you know. It does say episode 1, a rotating cast, right? So, okay. Vex is constantly humming this tune. He says the song's not done yet, but he'll let you know, right?
Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah,
Me and Vex both like are arm in arm chanting it.
Oh, the dwarf likes it. There you go. Maybe because you're plastered now. A couple hours go by and you guys have been drinking. Yeah. These two get right into it. So
Vex is always down for a party.
there you go.
Woo!
Where you?
Woo.
They have rooms here. Vex, where are you going to stay?
Do I not already have lodging set up?
I think so. Yeah, Whispering Stone. But considering you're in the room where Rin died, you want to go back to that room where Rin died and all that stuff? It's probably cheap. You know, the guy gets killed there. I don't think she's rented it out again. It's probably sitting there. I'm pretty sure Arif
How
secured
far
it.
away is it from where I am right now?
It's a couple blocks in any direction. Like I said, the city is big, but it's small enough that it's like, meh, 10-minute walk.
Yeah,
It's fine.
I'll go back to my
Yeah.
lodgings.
Meet them in the morning and you go over some last minute stuff.
Yep.
You guys all agree to meet at the mausoleum, the giant church of Pharasma, which I shall show you now. Ta-da! Welcome to Wati. And the coolest thing about Wati is right in the middle is a giant pond called the Golden Lake, filled with albino alligators. And right below it, the largest building in the center of the city, is the faith of several, but it is the one faith that dominates everything that happens in the city, the goddess of fate and death herself, Pharasma. And it is where Frank Hamilton's character, and he shall return, don't you worry, Old Man Arif resides, stays, is visiting from Katapesh, because he's actually like an Arabic dude, Katapesh, from the next country over. Which reminds me, upon this next day, okay, you guys are free to resupply, do as you will. I will take a few things into account. From Varisia and from the city of Cardmaga. Sorry, I can never say that right. Aiden, help me out here.
Yeah. Kaermaga.
Karamaga. Both the Varisian and the dwarf have both traveled, one from the east, one from the west, met in Cardmaga, and decided when they heard about the pharaohs first going on, opening up the lands, and then opening up this particular city, just like everybody else in the sea region, everybody jumped in a boat, the two of you became acquainted and came here. Now, our war priest is of... your god's name, please, drumroll.
Nethys.
God of magic. And of the 3 modern faiths that dominate the city, number 3, bronze isn't bad, considering the Olympics are going on right now. You have already visited, paid respects, networked, you know, your first trip here. Because you guys remember, we're saying that after registering at the church and coming upon a traveling inquisitor of Selket, the goddess mistress of the beautiful house, goddess of embalming, healing, and scorpions, strange mix, Although a Grundy native, she is not from Wati, though she is from this country. And signing on at the Pharasmic Church has made all three of you... Fine, it's just paperwork, it's a different church, it doesn't affect you guys personally. The need to, like, maybe not deal with the Pharasmics directly, to try to deal with your own churches, but unfortunately, you know, any other Nethys people have, like, formed up in groups, or, you know, other Assyrian, like, her gods are even completely rare, because the old ancient Assyrian gods are just onesies. I mean, our last ancient Assyrian god, Sekhmet, goddess of battle.
They're onesies?
They're like, you'll run into one person, not like a group.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Now, the fact that the Wadjet thing went off, right? Remember, there was a couple of oracles that thought R3N was the bomb, and as the days went by, oh, suddenly people are converting. Because we have a walking symbol of our faith, everyone jumps on board, right? But a lot of them were natives.
Posers.
But a lot of them are natives and have the stories and traditions and beliefs of the entire ancient Osirian pantheon, because they worshipped it mostly as a whole. Not just one god, but all of them, the entire ancient Osirian pantheon. So these guys pop up like weeds. Anyway, days had gone by, you guys got into the lottery, you went in, you were successful, you leveled, unfortunately lost Beardly, cashed out, upgraded equipment. Now you guys are walking around toting Mastercraft weapons and armor and stuff, and are ready to go back. And had delayed, for honor of the dead, forming a new plan, waiting for the next lottery draw. You guys take your divine chaos, you know, chits. You guys have like these little wooden tokens that are like, it's your registration of like this, I'm with this party, right? So they keep track of you. It's got your name and some ID on it, right? Like dog tags, right?
Do I have to do any like party transfer paperwork, or would Arif have taken care of that for me?
Right. So this is why they want to meet you at the Church of Pharasma the next day, is not only to, you know, absorb you into their party and do the paperwork, that it's just where you guys will be given your next area, and then you guys can just head out from there, whether it's straight into the city or decide if you need to plan, you know, type of thing. So one more rotation of the sun. Sun goes down, the sun comes up, and you guys are all headed for the temple. But before we get to that, I would like to go back 3 days hence to the scene of the crime, where a certain sylph slayer, bard, rogue, and 2 years into the future, Taldorian gentry serving a nobleman / paladin. What happened to him? He was cursed by the goddess Beset, the goddess of cats and lust and secrets, and had been chased by cat swarms, killed and resurrected in this very desert, his feet still touching the sands. The last time we saw him, he jumped out a window. The last time the audience saw him, he ran down several alleyways, tried to outdistance, and could, because he had superior movement, an entire cat swarm, and jumped headlong into the river, trying to avoid the crocodiles and life. Now, you could actually swim. It's a roll of the dice. You could swim across this vast river and nothing would touch you. Or you could go in and like 3 seconds in, just get swarmed. You just never know. In he dives, and the river current seems to eddy and shift. And as you are below the surface, Fafaal, 3 days ago, you don't want to pop up for the cats to see you. You swim a little bit, and you catch a current going the wrong way. You catch a current that goes up and takes you right to the crux. You find yourself gasping for air out in the middle where the 3 rivers join. And you do see the servants of Sobek, the crocodiles, a couple of them coming for you. They are closing. What would you do?
At this point, I mean, having a decent idea on how gators are, or crocodiles, I should say. Fafaal's gonna start praying to whoever's listening.
Okay.
Like, he's willing to make a bargain.
All right.
Like,
well, you had ingratiated yourself to Wadjet and had learned a couple things, you know, from sucking up to them. You want to, and she is the goddess of the river. And if anyone's going to protect you, you know, from the other god that dominates the river, you could start there.
Yeah, that's fair. I would start with Wadjet, and if I don't start hearing anything, I'm just expanding to
Okay.
anyone who's listening.
So Treadwater, blub blub blub, Wadjet, if you're listening, and he starts praying, and they close, and they pray, and the servants of Sobek get closer and closer. And then you realize maybe no one's listening, or at least no one's answering if they are listening, and your best odds are to madly swim for it, submerge, maybe throw them off, maybe try and get to a riverboat. I mean, it's got to be fishermen out here. But out in the middle, I doubt you're going to make shore before they catch you. What would you want to do? We're sorry, the ancient gods of Osirion are not available right now. Please leave a message. Beep, drown. What do you do?
I would look around for a quick second to see if I can find any boats to get to.
Yes, there is some. They are a distance. I mean, they're not far off the shore. You hug the shore, you know, the type of thing. But it's closer than the shore. So, can I have a swim check, please?
Yes, you can.
Give me a bunch. Give me some masterful. You keep these suckers going, I'll have you outpace these gators or throw them off, or maybe they just, you know, don't close fast enough. Call them out. Spam them up.
12, 25.
Oh, 12. They're pacing you. 25.
25 again.
Ducking under the water, changing direction, decide to, like, you go one way and then duck under the water and, like, swim madly towards the boat, you know, throw them off kind of thing. 12.
12,
Okay.
17.
You're halfway there. And then you realize in your madding swim, let's have those that last number there.
It was a 2 for an 8 total.
15. You begin to tire. In getting distance from them, you begin to tire.
I'm also having a tougher time breathing as well. Like, I'm not an Undine. I'm a Sylph. I need to have access to air on all of me.
That's true.
Water is not good.
Not good. Now, I'm not saying you're about to drown because you're failing swim checks, but you're certainly, like, you get ahead of them, and slow and steady wins the meal, and they just putter along, and you're like, I'm gonna make it. Then you start running out of steam, and they start closing again.
18.
Madly trying to get to the boat, 1/4 of the distance away.
Natural 1 for a 7.
And then you gulp a bit of water, and you submerge, and you become confused, and you see them. You actually see some of them, come down. They're coming up. They're gonna grab you, do that horrible death roll spin, right?
Yeah.
And a vortex appears around you, and the gators, look like if they hit it, they'll be swept up, and then everything stops, like time stops. The fish stop. You ever see that scene in the cartoon Sinbad, where the goddess talks to him and puts him in a bubble so he doesn't drown and everything stops?
No.
A vortex forms around you, and not air, but airy water. It's bubbles around you, like a massive amount of bubbles. It's confusing, but you find you can actually breathe easier. The problem is, without the density of the water, this airy water, you start sinking rapidly. And you sink past aquatic life, but they all seem frozen in time. And then finally, in this madness, perhaps you've drowned and already gone crazy, when you hit the bottom, you become aware that you're being watched. You're not alone. Perhaps something did hear you. A deep, dark, and ancient consciousness enters your mind in a telepathic state. You hear many voices and yet one. It is unwise to pray openly to just any being. Hence, something, none, or everything might listen or even answer, young Sylph.
And while that could bring about an issue later, it was to solve my current issue, which was, as you could see. I do appreciate it, though.
Appreciate what? That I have stalled your demise? You are a murderer, and you are about to die amid an underwater storm that I have arranged. Tell me, young sylph, shall I let loose my son's children and watch them devour you? What but your pitiful soul could you offer me to spare your life and risk the anger of my son's minions?
Well, depending on how well and how friendly you are with the goddess Bastet, you claiming my soul now would screw her over. She has cursed me.
Your dwindled self has already been touched by another. Perhaps I should not dabble in her business and let you be. And the air, your water, becomes thicker. And all the crocodiles and everything, you see their eyes move and panic like they become aware but they can't move. Sort of like a, fine, maybe I'll let you go, and slowly time starts going. What do you do?
Whoa, wait. Hold on a second. We can negotiate here.
A negotiation requires both sides having something the other wants. What could you possibly have or do or wish or provide?
I have a decent amount of skill sets, not just murdering. I can be a servant. I don't mind running errands.
To lift a curse from that wench of power and felines. To serve me. To murder for me. For itself. That doesn't really seem like a fair trade. It seems like I am taking the brunt and letting you off the hook. If I do this, what can you offer me directly?
Well...
Offering me your service is merely offering credit. I can allow my son's minions to cash in on you now. Let him deal with that cat goddess. Who killed you?
And that's fair. I can always provide more bodies if that's what you're looking for. I can bring a sacrifice now.
Death is inevitable to all things. Death, the desert, the madness, the nightmare, the storms, they all exist because of me. None of it because of you. What tiny, tiny grain of wheat are you to tip the scale that I might be impressed by a few more?
Well, see, the problem is, if you stepped in and became too heavy-handed, other gods would step in to stop you. However, a singular sylph flying under the radar, I can do a lot of damage, not just here, but I can spread not only the word, but your hand.
Arrogant boy, even Osirion. Tell all of Osirion Osiris himself cannot stand against me.
Whoa. I did not mean to overstep my bounds, but I think I do have an idea. Instead of just mindlessly killing, I could kill your family's worshippers. You don't seem to like them very much. Taking out their blessed, the ones that directly channel their powers, would weaken them, would it not? This isn't the first time I've done it either. Why do you think I'm under this curse? There was a druid of some sort. I ended up killing her, and Bastet was not happy about that. She was a true believer. I was paid to do it. Do I regret it? Maybe not.
Are you
I'm effective.
saying you would pledge your loyalty, your soul, your being to me, and its sole purpose from this point on for the rest of your days would be to deplete their faithful? You would risk the wrath of any and all other Osirian gods for my protection?
Absolutely.
Then cut your own throat and swear it here and now, lest ... and immediately the water starts coming in. You get slammed with heavy water. The crocs are on you. What do?
Grab the dagger and go for the throat.
Okay. The crocodiles take him. Fafaal cuts his own throat and begins to bleed out rapidly and gets spun in a death thrall. But as his blood churns with the water around the gators, as they force it out even more rapidly and spins this dark blue, blackish red, suddenly all the gators are repelled by this blood, by this life sacrifice. And as the dagger falls from his cold, dead hands in the water, all aquatic life, including Sobek's children, are repulsed by the cloud of blood and gore and vanish into the depths. And as Fafaal sinks to the bottom, whether he has in vainly sacrificed his soul to Set, the Lord of the Dark Desert, god of darkness, deserts, murder, and storms, and has been duped to an eternal punishment, and will find himself soon to be judged, his heart weighed against the feather of truth by the god that guards the dead, Anubis, or rises anew somewhere in another river, finding himself boarding another boat in a faraway land within 2 years hence. I'll let you decide. And we'll see you next time on the Man from Osirion, Mummy's Mask. Say goodnight, Fafaal.
Oh, good night, everybody, and sweet dreams.
Good morning, everyone.
I don't think he does that, but that's cool. Insult to injury.